Good morning, students. You are welcome back once again to the second lecture of household circuits. As you must remember, in the previous lecture we had discussed a few important concepts of the usage of a fuse, a switch, then how to connect a bulb, different symbols that were used that are generally used in our household circuit representation. Okay, so in continuation with that, there are a few important facts that we must know as and when you go along reading this particular chapter, because remember, this particular chapter has more of theory involved in it. Okay, but then that theory is more with regards to the practical aspect of alternating current that we have in our households. Okay, so continuing with that, the first is why is a fuse not connected in neutral? Okay, remember, if in the last turn, if you remember, in the discussion of live, neutral and earth wires, we had shown that the fuses are always there in the live wire. Okay, so the question generally arises, why should a fuse be connected in live wire always and why not in neutral? Okay, so in order to explain this particular question, I have used a diagram in which I have, instead of connecting the fuse in the live wire, I have connected the fuse in the neutral wire. So we will see, if this is done, then what are the disadvantages or what are the complications involved. Okay, so you see, now this is the live wire and this is the neutral wire running. It will run throughout your house. Okay, I have only taken a portion of the house where I have shown that there is a bulb, or maybe you can have a refrigerator also, or a television, whatever. Some electrical appliance is connected. Okay, so the path of the circuit completion will be through the live wire and then through the electrical appliance back to the back through the neutral wire to the supplier. Okay, here somewhere is the supplier, from wherever the supply is coming. Okay, so AC supplier. Okay, now you see, supposing that there is a fault in the circuit. Okay, now we will first try to understand what was the general working or what was the motive of having a fuse. Fuse will protect the electrical appliance from getting burnt. Okay, why? Because yesterday, if you remember, I had told you that a fuse will sacrifice itself and it will save the appliance from getting burnt. Okay, so therefore, instead of having a big appliance getting repaired or big appliance getting burnt and then buying a new one, which will cost you a handsome amount of money, it is always better to lose a fuse wire which you can buy from the market at a relatively cheap price. Okay, so the function of the fuse was to protect the electrical appliance. Now everywhere the purpose of the fuse will be the same. Now you see, if we connect the fuse here in the neutral wire, okay, it will still save the bulb from, or it will still save any electrical appliance that is there from getting burnt, because the moment there is a high amount of current flowing in the system, this fuse gets burnt off, or the fuse wire gets melted. As I told you in the previous lecture, it gets melted and therefore it disconnects the circuit, thereby saving the appliance. So why should it not be there in the neutral wire? Why should it always be there in the live wire? Because you see, even after it cuts down, supposing it cuts down the supply, okay, it cuts down, it makes a break in the completion of the circuit. The circuit is not complete. If the fuse wire melts, then there is a disconnection, there is a gap. Okay, so there will no more be the passage of the current from the neutral back to, from the live back to the neutral. Okay, there is a disconnect, so the constant supply of current will not be there through this particular appliance and the appliance will be saved. But there is a hazard involved, there is a danger involved, in the sense that although the overall circuit has been disconnected, but then you see the disconnection has happened right at the neutral end of the wire, whereas the live wire is actually still carrying the current. Okay, it only needs a path to move forward. Okay, you see this live wire is not getting disconnected. The live wire is not disconnected anywhere because the fuse was not there in the live wire. The fuse we had connected with the neutral wire. So although the fuse disconnects the circuit, but it disconnects it at this end, not throughout this path. Therefore, if in case there is an open wire, or if there is a malfunctioning, there is an open cut of the wire, the insulation is not proper, and supposing that there is a child who touches somewhere over here, okay, by mistake. Now this is once in a blue moon kind of a scenario. This is not a very frequent happening, but this is always possible. The wire, which is the live wire, that is, at some place or the other inside the house, it may be possible that the insulation is not proper. There is an opening in the wire, that metallic portion of the wire is visible, or it can be accessed. Any child by mistake, if he puts a hand to it, you see the current will flow through the live wire, through the body of the boy back to the earth. Okay, because you see, the child or whoever the person is who touches by mistake, his legs or his foot is on the ground, and ground provides an earthing. Okay, so the electricity which was available, very much available through the live wire, it will have a path now to travel back to the earth, thereby completing the circuit, and this particular person will get a shock. Okay, that is why instead of keeping the fuse in the neutral wire, we should always have it in the live wire. Now you see, I'll show you what happens really if you have the fuse in the live wire. So supposing that we have the fuse somewhere here. Okay, we have the fuse somewhere here. So now the disconnection that will happen over here. When will the disconnection happen? Whenever there is an excess supply of current. So the function of the fuse is to disconnect the circuit. It will get melt. So it melts, it disconnects the circuit. Now on the right hand side of it, there is no particular supply of current. So even if the child touches it or the man touches it, there is going to be no current in this area. Therefore, he is not going to get any shock. Okay, so please remember, a fuse is always connected in the live wire, not in the neutral. Similarly, the switch is also connected in the live wire. Now there are some more things that you need to keep an eye on regarding the color coding of the wires. The three wires, live, neutral and earth, according to the new convention, new sign convention, new color convention that you can say. Live wires are generally of the brown color. The insulation is brown in color. Now these colors are not of the metal. Okay, the metal is generally copper or an alloy of copper. Okay, but then the insulation portion, the top covering, the color of the top covering is according to this notation worldwide. Okay, so live wire generally of the brown color, neutral wire light blue, and earth wire can be of green color or the yellow color. Now why is this really important? This may not be so important for us in general, but for electricians and for people who work with electricity, who deal with electricity, they need to have this sign convention in mind. Okay, so whenever you go to buy an appliance, let's say a refrigerator, from the back portion of it, you will see a wire coming out, a thick wire with a thick insulation at the top. If you will just make a tear at one end, you will find that there are three wires inside of these three different colors. Okay, so that is the importance of the color coding of the wires. This is the new convention. There is an old convention also, but it's not important to study that. The latest convention has to be kept in mind. Then some other facts. You see over here, higher the current rating of a fuse wire, thicker is the wire of the fuse, which is only logical to understand, to interpret, because you see, yesterday again I told you that fuse wires, all fuses have fuse wires. Okay, it is an alloy of nickel, and yesterday I told you. So higher the current rating. Now why should the current rating of a fuse wire be high? Because remember, I told you the fuse wires are actually dependent upon the electrical appliance that they are being used for. Like for example, a fuse for a refrigerator and a fuse for an AC. will have different ratings. Okay, a fuse for an AC will probably have a 20 ampere rating. Okay, so similarly for let's say a geyser, it will be around 7 amperes. Okay, for a bulb it may be different. Okay, so the current rating actually defines that how much current should be or can be allowed through a fuse wire without the wire getting melted. Okay, so if you want to have a higher current rating of a fuse wire, that means you want more current to flow. You want more current to be allowed to flow through a fuse wire, then obviously more current means more heating, so the wire should be thick. Okay, that has to be kept in mind. Now coming to one more important aspect, all electrical appliances in our household are connected in parallel. You see, I already told you in the previous chapter, current electricity, that all electrical appliances will have some resistance or the other, and resistance can have two combinations, series combination and parallel combination. What is preferred in our household circuits is parallel combination because of a number of reasons. The reasons I'll explain just now. You see, all electrical appliances in our household are connected in parallel. Now I am showing you these two combinations. One, obviously you can see these are, you can call them as bulbs B1 and B2, and then similarly over here also you have bulbs B1 and bulb B2. Okay, so these bulbs are in series combination. They are connected across a 220 volt mains. Mains means AC supply. Okay, or the AC mains. You can see the symbol of the AC. So this 220 volts, whenever you have series combination, gets divided into 110 volts equally into two parts. Okay, so this bulb will have a potential difference across its ends as 110 volts. Similarly, this also will have 110 volts. Okay, although the main supply was 220, but it has got divided in series. Okay, whereas in parallel the voltage supply does not get divided. You have the same 220 volts across both bulbs, because you see, this end of this bulb and this end of this bulb, they are at the same terminal and at the same end, and then this and this, the right hand ends of these two bulbs, they are also at the same end. Okay, which is connected to the 220 volt main. So one reason why we should always have appliances connected in parallel is because each appliance will have its own 220 volt supply. Okay, the supply voltage will not get distributed or divided if the appliances are in parallel. Okay, the second reason, obviously you understand, is that in parallel combination the overall resistance reduces. Okay, if you take let's say for example 2 ohms and 2 ohms, let's see, here we have 2 ohms, here we have 2 ohms, they are in series. Okay, 2 ohms and 2 ohms, the resultant will be obviously 4 ohms. Okay, but if you connect 2 ohm and 2 ohm in parallel, you see 2 ohms and 2 ohms in parallel, the net resistance in this particular case is 1 ohms. You already know what is the process of calculating it. Okay, so in case of parallel combination, the net resistance drops, and the main motive or the purpose that we have in our mind is always to have as less resistance as possible. Okay, so these are two very important reasons why we always have electrical appliances connected in parallel. Now you see, one more important reason for this parallel connection in our households is, you see, if we have the appliances in series and supposing that there is a disconnect in the wire here. Okay, now what will happen is, if there is a disconnect in the wire over here, this bulb will go off, this bulb will also go off, because they are in series. Okay, unless the supply can reach from here, unless the supply, AC supply, can reach the two bulbs, the bulbs will not glow. So if there is a disconnect over here, both the bulbs will not glow in series. Whereas if there is a disconnect over here, in parallel combination, only this bulb will not glow, because the current can always go through this bulb and complete the circuit like this. So this bulb B2 will glow, but the bulb B1 will not glow, because there is a disconnection here. Similarly, if there is a disconnection here, the bulb B2 will not glow and the bulb B1 can glow. Okay, so these are three very important reasons why we should always have electrical appliances in our households connected in parallel. Okay. Okay, the other fact that we have is the AC supply to our households is of the order of 220 to 230 volts, and it has a frequency of 50 hertz. So for this we need to understand the main difference between a DC supply and an AC supply. DC supply, as you have already seen in the labs, it is generally of much lower order and much lower magnitude in comparison to the AC supply. In our houses we have different appliances. Some are quite big appliances which require a large amount of current to be supplied to. That is why the AC supply has to be there in our household circuits. Okay, the DC supply, as we already know, it cannot be stepped up and down. It is of a fixed order, it is of a fixed magnitude, whereas AC supply, it can actually be changed. It can be stepped up and stepped down. Now this particular year you don't have transformers in your course, that is why we are not going to go into the details of how the step up and the step down is done, but then for with regards to the reason as to why we have alternating supply. AC, by the way, is alternating current. Alternating means changing in magnitude as well as in direction. Okay, so it continuously changes its polarity from plus to minus and back to plus. The rate at which it does in India is 50 hertz, that is 50 times per second. Okay, so we have the magnitude, as you see, you must be very well aware of it, around 220 to 230 volts. Most of the electrical appliances that you buy from the market, they will have this voltage rating written on it. Okay, so that means that they need to be supplied an amount of 220 volts of voltage. Okay, the second thing that we have is MCBs, miniature circuit breakers. These are now preferred. You might have seen in the modern houses, whenever the wiring takes place, instead of the fuses, people generally have prefer to have miniature circuit breakers. Now within a matter of 25 to 30 milliseconds, which is like much lower than 1 second, the supply gets disconnected or there is a disruption. Why? Because the circuit breaker actually breaks the circuit by tripping down. Now when does it do so? Whenever there is an excess supply of current or voltage. Okay, so the purpose is the same as that of a fuse. Now what are the reasons why miniature circuit breakers are preferred with regards to fuses? Is because of a number of advantages. One primarily being the amount of money that is required. If there is a fuse that is being used and it keeps getting burned down, then you have to keep on buying a new fuse wire or maybe a new fuse all the time, which can be avoided if you have a miniature circuit breaker, in which case there is only a tripping. There does not need to be any replacement of the MCB. Whenever you have a normal supply, you can always put up the MCB switch which has tripped down. Okay, so that is one reason, and obviously it facilitates a lot of convenience. Okay, you don't have to keep on replacing the fuse. Okay, now we are going to study the ring system of wiring which is prevalent in our houses. We'll just have a brief introduction of the ring system of wiring in this particular lecture. Now you can see I have drawn the live and the neutral along with the earth wire with different shades. Live wire is a straight continuous line. The neutral one is a dotted line, is a line drawn with hashes, and then earth wire I have seen with a lot of thickness involved. Okay, this is the distribution box. I have already shown you in the previous lecture also. Fuse will be, this is the main fuse of the order of 20 to 30 amperes, you can say, depending upon the load that you want to operate in the house. Okay, so live, neutral and earth. Now whenever there is a new wiring taking place in the house, the live, neutral and the earth, all these three wires will be run inside the room. Now suppose this is one room of your house. These three wires will be run along the walls, inside the walls, embedded inside, across the four walls of the room. Okay, so this ring is the live ring, this ring is the neutral ring, and this is the earth ring. Okay, now suppose in this corner of the room you want to connect a bulb. Okay, so what are you going to do? you will not have to have the supply taken all the time from the mains. Okay, the wiring is already there inside your house, so whichever corner you want to use, if you want to use this corner, you can always take out. Suppose this is the live connection, so you just make a small hole, you find out the live wire, you take one out, you connect a switch over here. Okay, so the switch will be shown with, you will connect a switch first of all, remember, and then obviously you can have the bulb or the lamp, whatever you want to install. Okay, now this bulb, this, if you remember, I have already shown in the previous diagram how to connect in the previous lecture. So this has to go into, remember, it has to overlap. Okay, and it will go straight into the neutral wire. Why? Because you see, this live wire is actually providing the AC supply throughout the room. You have just taken a connection out at this corner, used a switch and to light a bulb over here, and then for the circuit completion it has to go back into the neutral wire and then through here back to the supply. So this is how the full circuit gets completed. Okay, and obviously since this is just a lighting circuit, the earth is not really involved, but if you want an AC, a refrigerator, I have already shown you, there will be a socket involved. For the socket, the topmost hollow hole that you have is for the earth pin. Okay, so you have the earth also available. Okay, so this is the ring system of wiring, and you will note that this ring system of wiring actually supports the parallel connections, not the series one. Okay, we have already studied just now that we always need to have parallel connections for a number of reasons. The second advantage of the ring system of wiring is that all the individual appliances will have their individual supply from the mains. The voltage will not be divided between them. Okay, and then obviously there you can always have, yes, there has to be a fuse also involved. Okay, so here is a fuse. Okay, now this fuse is for this particular appliance. Similarly, if you want to connect another appliance at this end, you will have another fuse over here, so on and so forth. Okay, so in ring system of wiring, there will be a main fuse right at the distribution box, and then individual fuses for all different appliances. Okay, these are some of the advantages of the ring system of wiring. Okay, so here we are with the next topic, which is the staircase wiring. The wiring that is usually done in case you have ground floor and you have to move up to the first floor to some room, and there is a bulb which is operational around the area of the staircase. Okay, so this will involve the use of a dual control switch. Okay, the switch can be controlled from two different locations using two, basically there are two different switches. When I'll explain, you will understand. Staircase wiring, now you see there are two switches that I have drawn. This is one switch S1 and this is another switch S2. This switch S1 is at the bottom of the staircase. Okay, so you are going this way. Okay, you are moving up the ladder. Okay, so you can imagine that you are standing right at the bottom of the staircase, and it is night time, so you have to have this bulb glowing so that on the staircase there is ample light. Okay, this is the scenario. You want to climb a staircase to the first floor. Maybe your room is at the first floor. Okay, so you want to climb the staircase, but since it is dark, you need this bulb to glow. Okay, now remember, you are at the bottom of the staircase, so the first switch which is available will be right at the bottom of the staircase, so you can use that particular switch to switch on the bulb. Okay, now in the current scenario, you see, we will first check whether this bulb is glowing right now or not. Here is the live wire. Okay, so there is obviously a fuse in the live wire as always. So this comes here, here. You see there is a disconnect over here, so the bulb is not going to glow. There is no circuit completion, so the bulb right now is in off position. Okay, you are standing right at the bottom of the staircase. You want to climb up. There is darkness on the staircase, so you cannot climb till the time the bulb is off. Okay, so we have to switch the bulb on. So the person who is standing over here, since you are going to climb, what you are going to do is you are going to operate this two-way switch. So I'm just going to, you see, this is that part of the switch which will come down and get connected here. So I will now simply use this particular switch. So this switch from this particular position, it has come down like this. Okay, so you have made use of this switch S1 at the bottom of the staircase. You have switched it on. So from here it has tripped down here. Now we will check again if the bulb is glowing. From the live it comes here, 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 here through the bulb and back to the through the neutral wire to wherever the supply came from. So the circuit is now complete. The bulb will glow. Okay, so the staircase is all lighted up. You climb up the stairs and now you reach the top of the stairs. From the top of the stairs now you already have your room visible. You are standing right at the gate or at the door of your room. Now you want to enter the room and spend the night there. So you no longer want this bulb to be on throughout the night. So what you are going to do is you are not going to come back down again to switch it off. There is another switch S2 right at the first floor. You can use this switch. So now you have reached this spot. You will use this particular switch. So from this position now the trip goes up. Okay, so now we will check again whether the bulb is off or not. You see now here from the live again it comes over here. You see there is a disconnect here, so that means the circuit is no more complete. The bulb is off. You can enter the room and go to sleep. Okay, so this is exactly how the staircase wiring will work. Okay, you will not have to keep coming back and forth to switch the bulb on and off. There are two switches that you can operate. Okay, the next thing that we have is the earthing. Okay, there are two kinds of earthing that we have. We have one as the local earthing and then one the individual appliance earthing. Okay, so the purpose of earthing of any appliance. Now what is the purpose? First of all, let us read. Safety of the user is the main purpose of earthing. Okay, safety of the user. Who is the user? We are the users. We hold the handle of the refrigerator and open the door of the refrigerator. It is we who switch on the geyser. It is we sometimes who touch the oven, the electric iron and so on and so forth. So all these electrical appliances, they have a high current rating. Okay, the current that is used by them or the current that is drawn by them is much higher in terms of magnitude, and therefore it is liable. It is liable for us to get a shock. It is kind of a possibility that we may get a shock if we do not have enough or sufficient or proper earthing in place. Okay, so safety of the user, especially in case of appliances of high current rating which we handle physically. Okay, we don't touch the bulb every day. We only just put it in the socket and we operate using a switch. Okay, we do not touch smaller instruments, smaller electrical appliances, but appliances like these we often touch. So we are in constant risk of getting a shock unless there is an appliance earthing. Okay, so here I have drawn one such diagram which is already given in the book also. Suppose this is an appliance with the heating element over here. Okay, so from the live wire, again the fuse will always be there. From the live wire the current comes and it has a path back through the neutral. So the circuit is complete. The appliance is working. It is in the working condition. Now supposing that the outer body of the appliance, most of the cases the outer body is made up of metal. Okay, although there is that coat of paint involved right at the external surrounding or the external surface, but then the main body, the external body is made up of metal. Okay, so there are chances, there is a possibility that with wear and tear, with regular usage, you may have, sometimes you may have this particular insulation. Now you see over here, this particular portion where the live wire is actually entering the body of the appliance, there is insulation, and here also there is insulation involved. Okay, there is insulation involved. You cannot have wires which are running naked through the appliance. In fact you can never have wires which are running naked. There is always an insulation on top of it. So wherever it enters the appliance there is a insulation, but with regular usage this insulation might wear off. Wear off means it gets tears down, and then there may be a constant connection between the live wire with the body of the appliance. So sometimes, very rare of the rarest chances, you may have a current running in the outer body of the appliance, and if the person touches that metallic body or the handle, he may get a shock. So in order to save ourselves from the shock, what we are going to do is we are always going to have one terminal coming out. You can call this as the terminal T. Right from the back portion of most of the appliances, you will see a similar terminal at the back of the refrigerator down below. Small portion of the paint is scrubbed, and from this metallic portion, the moment you scrub the paint, you will see the metallic portion. From that metallic portion, a terminal is coming out. That terminal has to be connected to the earth wire, okay, or to the earth terminal, okay. In this case, in such a way, if in case because of wear and tear, if the live wire gets in connection with the metal body, then the current flowing through the metal body, instead of giving you a shock, it will go through the earth terminal and through the terminal at the back, and it is going to get earthed, okay. So you are not going to get a shock. This is the purpose of the earthing for individual appliances, okay. Next we are going to study local earthing. Okay, so local earthing, again, what is the purpose? For general earthing for cases involving heavy draw of current in the live wire. So there are situations in which you may have an extremely high draw of current, maybe because of the short circuit or something. So local earthing, which generally happens near your energy meter, okay. Whenever there is a fresh installation of the electricity lines or a fresh electrification of the house, fresh laying down of the wires in the house, in the newly made house, you will always have a local earthing done. Where is it done? It is done right near your gate, near the energy meter. Energy meter is nothing but your meter which gives the reading of the units of energy that you have consumed for all the appliances that you use, okay. So for the kilowatt hour meter or the energy meter, that ground near that area, which is generally near your gate, you have the local earthing, okay. So now what is the local earthing? How is local earthing done? You see these three wires, once again they are running live, neutral and earth. They are coming from the supplier and then they are going to the appliances, okay. Now near your energy meter, this earth wire. Now why is basically earth wire so important is, you see near the gate you have this metal, thick metal wire. In fact, it is the copper wire, main copper wire, which will carry the current, excess current that is, to the earth, okay. Now this particular distance is generally 2 to 3 meters deep, okay. So there is a hole, 2 to 3 meters deep hole that is dug near your energy meter, okay. And in this hole you see there is a thick copper wire which is going. It is connected right here at the with the earth wire, and it goes down deep below, and at this end there is a metal plate of a large surface area. Why? Because you see there will be, in case of heavy current draw in the live wire, you want to earth, you want to take all the current down to the earth very quickly. There is such a huge draw of current, so that has to be supplied to the earth in a quick fashion. Therefore you need to have a larger surface area. This wire itself will not suffice, so you need to have a large surface area metal plate, which is this metal plate. It will be dug deep inside, 2 to 3 meters deep, and this wire will be connected to the metal plate, and this metal plate around, now this is all earth area, muddy area, so you need to have a mixture of charcoal, salt and water. Why salt and water? Because that provides a conducting pathway for all the current, all the charge to get into earth, okay. Because you see earth is basically, what is earth? It is mud, it is simply soil, okay. So for that connectivity to be made, for the charges to transfer themselves through this wire, through the metallic plate to the earth, there needs to be a thin conducting material. So this salt water combination will provide that conductivity, okay. So this is how the local earthing is done. So here is one question that generally the board gives you in terms of labeling and in terms of identifying what all things are there. So let us start with this one. You see this particular combination, first of all we'll try and see what all components are there. You can see bulb B1, bulb B2 and then bulb B3. So there are three bulbs, or you can say lamps. Okay, switch S1, switch S2, switch S3. There are three switches, three bulbs, and you can see there are two cells. Okay, right now all the switches are in off position, so nothing is going to glow. No bulb is going to be operational. The question is, name the switch or switches to be closed for all three lamps to glow. Okay, so in this possible combination of three switches, we are going to see if there is one particular switch which can be switched on so that all three bulbs glow. If by doing this all the bulbs are not going to glow, so we are going to look for multiple switches that can be switched on. Okay, so we'll first have a look at the switch S1. Suppose the switch S1 is closed. Okay, so I'm going to show this arrow over here to show that the switch S1 is closed. Okay, when switch S1 is closed, this particular cell starts giving current. Okay, so it comes over here. Now you see this particular path is disrupted. It cannot complete the circuit, so the bulb B1 is not going to glow. Okay, so we will look for this path. Again, here switch S3 is closed, so bulbs B2 and B3 are not going to glow. So in effect, S1 switch is really of not much use. Okay, now we'll have a look at let's say switch S2. Okay, we are going to have a look at switch S2. Suppose switch S2 is closed. Okay, so I'm going to just write this S2 this side. Okay, now switch S2 is closed. Okay, so when switch S2 is closed, obviously because switch S1 is open, so this path is not functional. We will look at cell C2. Okay, so current comes here, here, here. You see here is a disconnect again. So by working individually with S2 also, nothing happens. Okay, so because remember, our motive is all three lamps should glow. Okay, now let's go to switch S3. Suppose switch S3 gets closed. Okay, once again cell C2 is functional. No, there is a disconnect. So individually, even if you switch on S1 or S2 or S3, all the bulbs are not going to glow. In fact, none of the bulbs are going to glow. So we are going to look for multiple combinations of the switches. Okay, let us have a look at switch S2 and S3. Suppose I switch this on and I switch this on. Okay, so these two switches I have switched on. On means they are connected. Okay, when they are connected, obviously you see cell C2 becomes operational, not C1, because this is again, it is still open. S1 is still open. S2 and S3 they are closed. So current starts flowing from here. It has a path here, it has a path here, comes here, here. This is also closed, so it comes here, and the path gets completed. And in this particular path, you can see bulb B1, B2, B3 all are falling in the same path, so all three bulbs are going to glow. So your answer will be switches S2 and S3 are to be switched on in order for all three bulbs to glow. Okay, and there is another part of this question in the book. They have asked that if these two S2 and S3 bulbs have been switches have been switched on, so what possible combination are these bulbs in? So you can easily say they are in series, one after the other. Okay, so B1, B2, B3 they are in series. Okay, then obviously you might be asked some safety precautions while dealing with electrical appliances like switches, plugs, wires, etc. So these safety precautions everyone knows. You should always have a fire extinguisher at your house. You should not touch the switches and the plugs with your bare hands. The hands should not be wet, they should be dried. Okay, and so on and so forth. You should always have your wires checked properly. There should be proper insulation, especially for high current carrying wires and for appliances which require a lot of current draw. Okay, so if you are using appliances like geysers and ovens, the wires should be thickly insulated, properly insulated, and then last of all there should be appliance earthing provided. Okay, these are some of the important safety precautions. There are a number of them given in the book. You can always read through it. Now we'll move to the next type of a question that may be asked. Okay, so here we see label all the components shown. So you have been given a setup, a circuit diagram, okay, and you have to label all the components, whatever you see. So this is a bulb B1, you can label this as B2, then obviously this is one switch S1, this is another switch S2, you can write this is in off position, this is also in off position, this is the fuse. Remember, this symbol is for AC mains and this as well as this, these are the symbols for fuse. Okay, this is the main supply and these are the fuses. So this is a fuse. Since this is a fuse, therefore this has to be the live wire. Okay, because we already know now that fuse is already always there in the live wire. Okay, and then you see, if this live wire carries current, then it has to go back and complete the circuit through the neutral wire. Okay, so the first one becomes the neutral wire, so the remaining one will obviously be the earth wire. Okay, so this is how you label. This is the fuse, you have already labeled. So this is how all the components can be labeled. Then coming down to the last part of this particular chapter, you see there are some reasoning questions given in the book. If you actually happen to go through these lectures thoroughly, then after that you can start reading the book, keeping in mind what is there in the course, especially that transmission portion in the beginning. That is no more a part of your syllabus, that is why I have not covered that. But then whatever portion I have covered, this is all logical and it is a part of the syllabus, so you must go through it properly with all the reasoning questions. Now you see, this is one of the last reasoning question that I will discuss. Why is the earth pin thicker and longer than the other two pins in a 3-pin plug? Okay, this is not a socket, this is a plug. Okay, so you have seen, I have already drawn it a number of times. This is okay, let the wire also come out. Supposing that this is a 3-pin plug. Okay, you can see the 3 pins, and in the real life also you have seen that this pin, the topmost pin, which is known as the earth pin, it is thicker also and it is longer also in comparison to the live and the neutral pins. Why is it so? So the answer is quite logical. This bulb is going to go into a socket. This is a 3-pin plug, so it is going to go into a 3-pin socket. Okay, so in case of faulty appliances, in case there is some fault, some electricity fault in the appliance, okay, due to wear and tear, you always want the earth connection to be made first, so that any excess current or any stray current actually passes quickly through the earth wire and gets earthed without you getting a shock. Okay, you see, had all 3 pins been of the same size, then it was a possibility that the live wire would have made connection first, or live wire would have made connection along with the earth wire in the socket. We do not want that. We want the safety to come first. So that is why this earth pin being longer, when you will turn this plug this way and try to put it in the socket, this pin being longer will make the first connection, so thereby it will take away that risk of any fault in the appliance. If there is a fault, this connection will take the current down and earth it. Okay, so this is the reason. There are similar such reasoning questions given in the book. You can always have a look. Okay, so this is as far as the household circuits which are a part of your syllabus is concerned. One more I would like to discuss is the high tension wires. If you read on the very last pages of this particular chapter, you will have high tension wires. Now what are these high tension wires? Whenever you have to have high voltage and heavy current, a special wire called high tension wire is used. You can see high tension wires as the overhead wires. These are not present inside your houses, they are outside. These are basically used for transmission. Okay, so this you can go and read it. Okay, so this is as far as your physics syllabus is concerned. I'll give you some small revision based on it also as and when we move along. Okay, thank you.